New Brunswick is a land of verdant forests, abundant rivers, fishing hamlets, and stately cities. Throughout history, the province's natural beauty attracted people from all corners of the earth. This summer, I traveled around the province, interviewing those who call New Brunswick home. We talked about the need for respect and celebration of the province's linguistic communities.
My name is Ryan Sullivan. I work currently at St. Thomas University as the Director of Recruitment. I own an ice cream parlor in Sussex, New Brunswick. My wife and I live downtown Fredericton. And my experience in New Brunswick has been that there are two very strong communities, and when given that opportunity to have a conversation, to learn more about each other, then it's made both groups stronger. And I look at myself as being someone who is very involved in sports and student government, yet and having friends from around the province, but primarily from the Anglophone communities. It was interesting now living in Fredericton, one of my best friends who had a very similar experience coming up from high school to university. We should have met much earlier than we did, because of the involvement he had in his school, being from a Francophone community and me being from an Anglophone. There's just no question that our paths should have crossed earlier. But we did here in Fredericton, and now we've become very, very good friends. And ultimately I find it also very interesting is the number of times when asked what differentiates a New Brunswicker from the rest of the country, how quickly we identify the fact that we're the only officially bilingual province. And I think that, for me, is really quite a distinguishing feature. It's a very attractive feature for the province, for people who are potentially looking at coming to study or work or live in the province as well. So, with my travels going elsewhere, I have no expectations of someone speaking to me necessarily in my language as much as I would expect myself to learn to try to communicate in theirs. And I think part of that comes from being a New Brunswicker in that sense that I'm Anglophone primarily, but that doesn't mean I expect someone from the Francophone community to learn my language to speak to me. I would feel that it's take it upon myself to try to communicate as best possibly when I'm in someone else's community in their language. And saying so. Going outside of New Brunswick, looking at other communities and being welcoming, I think that just comes from my own experience of growing up in New Brunswick, and it just being natural that there are multiple languages, two linguistic communities. Having the two linguistic communities adds a certain flavor to the province that we wouldn't have otherwise. And what I mean by that, when you look at it's not just by saying you have the different linguistic communities, cultural communities, but we even peel that back a little bit more, and the foods some of the times that the different families from different backgrounds are going to offer to the community, the history, the understanding, the interpretation of not just history but also current events. Very valuable for the province of having a bilingual newscast, because when I do read or watch the news in French, it can be very different than when I read and watch in English. And so having those different interpretations of current events, of history, bringing together the culture, the language, the foods, all of those things together, I think really add to the flavor of New Brunswick.